Jinger Duggar and Jeremy Vuolo recently faced criticism over their podcast, which some listeners have labeled as boring and pitiful. The couple, known for their appearances on 19 Kids and Counting, and Counting On, launched their podcast to discuss faith, family, and life experiences. However, feedback from their audience has been less than positive, with listeners expressing disappointment over the content and delivery of the episodes. Critics argue that the discussions lack depth and engagement, leading to a growing wave of negative reviews. Despite the backlash, Duggar and Vuolo continue to produce content, aiming to refine their approach and address the concerns raised by their audience. Certainly, here's a concise summary of a hypothetical news article with that title. Professional news. Jinger Duggar and Jeremy Vuolo slammed over boring and pitiful podcast. In recent developments, Jinger Duggar and her husband, Jeremy Vuolo, have faced significant backlash over their latest podcast episode. Critics have described the episode as boring and pitiful, criticizing the couple for what many consider to be a lackluster presentation. Viewers have expressed disappointment, citing a lack of engaging content and a failure to meet expectations. The couple, known for their reality TV background, had hoped to captivate their audience with insightful discussions but have instead drawn negative reviews. This response raises questions about their future endeavors in the podcasting space. Title: Jinger Duggar and Jeremy Vuolo slammed over boring and pitiful podcast. Jinger Duggar and Jeremy Vuolo have faced backlash for their latest podcast episode, which many listeners have criticized as boring and pitiful. The couple, known for their appearances on the reality TV show 19 Kids and Counting, launched their podcast in an effort to share insights on faith and family life. However, recent reviews have been less than favorable, with fans and critics alike expressing disappointment over the content's lack of engagement and relevance. Listeners have pointed out that the episode failed to deliver the engaging and dynamic discussions expected from the couple. Some have described the content as repetitive and lacking in depth, which has led to a wave of criticism on social media platforms. Despite their efforts to provide valuable insights, it seems the podcast has not resonated with their audience as hoped. Jinger and Jeremy have yet to respond to the criticism, but this feedback poses a challenge for them as they continue to develop their podcast series. The couple will need to address these concerns if they hope to regain their audience's interest and improve the reception of their future episodes. Professional news. Jinger Duggar and Jeremy Vuolo slammed over boring and pitiful podcast. Jinger Duggar and Jeremy Vuolo, known for their appearances on reality TV and their podcasting ventures, have faced considerable backlash over their latest podcast episode. Critics have labeled the episode as boring and pitiful, suggesting that it failed to engage listeners with compelling content or insightful discussions. The couple, who have been vocal about their personal faith and family life, are receiving criticism for not living up to the expectations set by their previous work. Reviewers argue that the episode lacked the depth and entertainment value that their audience anticipated. Some listeners have expressed disappointment, feeling that the content was repetitive and failed to address relevant topics in a meaningful way. This negative reception has sparked a broader conversation about the standards and expectations for content creators in the podcasting industry. As Jinger and Jeremy navigate this criticism, it remains to be seen how they will respond and whether they will adapt their approach in future episodes to better meet their audience's expectations. Jinger Duggar, known from the reality TV show 19 Kids and Counting, has recently captured the attention of her fans with a new video where she looks remarkably fit and radiant despite being a mother of 5. In the video, Duggar shares insights into her routine and lifestyle, leading to a surge of comments from followers eager to learn her secret to maintaining her appearance. Fans have flooded social media with questions about her fitness regime, diet, and any special practices she follows. While Duggar has mentioned staying active and making time for self-care, she has also emphasized that every individual's journey is unique and that there's no one-size-fits-all solution. Her openness and authenticity continue to inspire many of her followers, who appreciate her candidness about balancing motherhood and personal well-being. Certainly, here's a detailed news article on that topic. Title: Jinger Duggar and Jeremy Vuolo slammed over boring and pitiful podcast. Jinger Duggar and Jeremy Vuolo, known for their appearances on the reality TV show Counting On, have recently faced backlash over their podcast, The Hope We Hold. Critics and listeners have described the podcast as boring and pitiful, sparking a wave of criticism on social media and various online platforms. Podcast controversy *. Since its launch, The Hope We Hold has aimed to provide insights into Duggar and Vuolo's personal lives, faith, and experiences. However, recent episodes have not resonated well with their audience. Critics argue that the podcast lacks substance and engaging content, leading to a decline in its popularity. Listeners have expressed disappointment with the repetitive themes and perceived lack of genuine conversation. Some reviews describe the podcast as uninspired, noting that the discussions often feel forced and unoriginal. Public reactions *. The backlash has been swift, with numerous listeners taking to social media to voice their dissatisfaction. Comments on platforms like Twitter and Facebook have labeled the podcast as boring and pitiful, highlighting a disconnect between the couple's intended message and their audience's expectations. In response to the criticism, Duggar and Vuolo have yet to address the negative feedback publicly. However, they have continued to release new episodes, suggesting a determination to move forward despite the controversy. Impact on their public image *. The criticism of their podcast comes at a time when Duggar and Vuolo are working to establish themselves outside of the Duggar family's reality TV fame. The podcast was intended to bolster their personal brand and offer a platform for discussing their beliefs and experiences. However, the negative reviews may impact their credibility and influence, potentially affecting future projects. Looking ahead *. As Duggar and Vuolo navigate the fallout from the podcast's reception, it remains to be seen how they will adapt to the feedback. Fans and critics alike will be watching closely to see if the couple can address the concerns raised and improve the content of their podcast. For now, The Hope We Hold continues to release episodes, and Duggar and Vuolo appear committed to their podcasting venture despite the recent criticism. Jinger Duggar and Jeremy Vuolo, known for their appearances on reality TV and social media, are facing criticism over their latest podcast episode. Critics have described the podcast as boring and pitiful, accusing the couple of lacking engaging content and failing to captivate their audience. The backlash highlights a growing discontent among listeners, who expected more dynamic and insightful discussions from the couple. The response underscores the challenges public figures face in maintaining audience interest and relevance in a crowded media landscape.